And now could I ask Bolivia to be very concise and come up with your question or comment?
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair. I will take your initial suggestion to make also comments, but not only questions. First of all, please let me go in the line of Argentina's suggestions and comments related to green agriculture and this tendency to substitute the concept of sustainable agriculture, which is in the document entitled "The Future We Want" instead of green agriculture. We have had the opportunity to read this text produced by UNEP, which is towards green economy, and in fact the invitation of Mr. Herren is very much important, and I would like to join it and suggest colleagues to read this document. In fact, this document is proposing to concentrate 2% of the global GDP in 10 sectors, but the problem is that 5 of these 10 sectors, including agriculture, is mitigation oriented. And these 5 sectors, which a mitigation approach, covers 86% of these 2% of the GDP suggested to be invested in the next, I don't know, 10, 20 years in what is called green economy. Excuse me. And we do not agree with this approach. It is not logical to have agriculture and agriculture with a mitigation approach. This has very important implications. One of the implications is that it brings us an imbalance between adaptation and mitigation, and this is precisely an issue we are discussing in the context of UNFCCC. I can say that because I'm following the negotiations on climate change, and this imbalance is a crunch issue we have in the next discussion about the new legal instrument we have to design. Imagine what's going to happen with the official aid to development, which has already decreased dramatically. From 1983 to 2006, the ODA to agriculture has decreased in 70%. And what could happen if this ODA, not to mention other financial resources that are national also, goes mainly to mitigation, which is suggested in the proposal of UNEP document towards green economy. So green economy in these 10 sectors, 5 of them emphasizing mitigation, including cities, including waste management, etc., but not also adaptation. And development is not a mitigation process. Development has a lot of dimensions. Mitigation is one of them, but mainly in agriculture we have adaptation as a main issue. Imagine what could happen if we apply this approach with the 5 million agricultural units in the world, small units, that gives jobs to 1.5 billion persons in the world, if we have a mitigation approach. So policies and financing are going to go mainly to a mitigation approach in agriculture. It doesn't make sense. We need to have a holistic approach in agriculture, and of course to emphasize the small producers. And I think I would like to say that we have a clear consensus on that, if we are going to design sustainable development goals in agriculture, it has to stress and reinforce the economy of small producers. And secondly, quickly, please, I would like to suggest also our presenters and colleagues to think about the models of unsustainable activities and unsustainable agriculture. And I'm thinking about unsustainable agriculture of large scale. Large-scale agriculture has to have a complementarity with small scale, but we have to stress small-scale agriculture because of what we have said, because the capacity of generate jobs, employment, and lifestyles and livelihoods related to the management of ecosystems and nature. But unsustainable large-scale agriculture has very bad implications if it's not oriented in an approach of harmony with nature, which is in fact a principle and a concept in the document "The Future We Want." Harmony with nature, holistic approach, and restoration and regeneration of nature. I am thinking about the implication of this large-scale agriculture, which could be named unsustainable if it is mainly oriented to biofuel, to some important in terms of global trade products like soja, like cattle, and if we promote this kind of unsustainable large-scale agriculture without control, regulation, policies of governments clearly oriented to limit and to manage and to plan this kind of agriculture, we can go into a black hole. Fostering agriculture oriented to biofuel has very bad implications. The last 30 or 20 years, 25, 30 years, soja production has increased in terms of surface in 22 million hectares in South America. And this has a very bad effect in forest management and, of course, in the sustainability of land and forests. Think about what could happen if we export this model to Africa, where 33 million of small farmers have as an average 1.6 hectares. Think about what's going to happen with these 33 millions of small farmers if we export this large-scale agriculture model, which is very much linked to this big process of consumption, these patterns of consumption, mainly in developed countries, where as an average, each one of the members of these developed countries' societies has an ecological footprint of 7 hectares, considering what they consume every day. So these are questions that are important and leads us to the issues of control, the role of the states, the role of the public, and the reinforcement of small-scale agriculture. Thank you.